So Petals, ever thought about what you'll do in the future? Norman chose teaching, but wants to work at the forestry department this summer. He's just like his dad. Following his father's teachings, Norman arrived at Paul's workplace. As soon as he entered, he saw Paul full of energy, ready to expose the secrets of the mines. Paul was so excited to see his brother. It was like a kid on Christmas morning. The brothers headed straight for that familiar river. At the riverbank, Norman was overwhelmed with emotions, the familiar hometown view evoked memories, and he planned to resume fishing. However, when he cast his line, he realized he was a bit rusty. He quickly adjusted, recalling the techniques his dad had taught him as a kid. The line sliced through water as he cast bait. Norman felt time warp to his first catch, rushing excitedly to his brother. He found Paul's fishing skills had greatly improved, inventing the shadow cast to keep the line afloat, luring the fish to come over slowly. Little did he know Paul had already become an artist at fishing. A friend took Norman to a party where the girls had grown up, each more impressive. You'd expect boldness. The brothers did well. Though the girl didn't know him, they chatted soon. They had a drink, then as they were to dance, a friend pulled the girl away, leaving Norman disheartened. Then it was time for fireworks, and Norman wanted to use the phone, but his mom was chatting away, making it feel like it would never end. Finally, Mom hung up and handed the phone to Norman. He took a deep breath and dialed. "Is Jessie there?" "This is Norman McLean." "Oh, my bad. I was actually hoping to bring you a drink." Norman arranged a date with Jessie. They met Paul and his Native American girlfriend outside a bar on a romantic night. They introduced each other, then the two walked into the bar, despite its rule barring Native Americans. But Paul didn't care about the rules. In the face of tense glares, the men agreed. After all, the brothers were familiar faces in town. Yet they still got weird stares, making Paul unhappy. Mabel was even indifferent during ordering. However, Jessie differed. She praised Mabel's hair and started chatting over drinks. Norman raised his glass first, while Jessie had heard of Paul. His nickname was the fishing reporter. He became famous for covering a scandal at a mine, and after that, the newspaper kept getting threatening calls, with the mob showing up too. But Paul didn't care one bit. It was time to dance, and Paul and his girlfriend's moves made Jessie envious. They got disdainful looks from whites, but Paul and his girlfriend didn't mind. They danced freely. Ultimately, the graceful dance won everyone over. Norman and Jessie joined the dance floor, and it became a delightful and unforgettable night. Norman pursued Jessie, writing letters. One day, he got a call Paul was in trouble again. Paul had gotten into a fight and knocked out someone's front tooth because they insulted his girlfriend. He learned from the sheriff that Paul had been causing quite a stir lately and racking up serious debts at the casino. If he offends casino people, things could turn bad. Norman, in jail, watched his brother Paul and drunk Mabel. He picked up his brother's girlfriend and led them out of the jail. On the way, he told his brother, "If you need any money or help, I've got your back." But his brother clearly didn't want the help. At the gathering, Norman proudly accompanied his mother, who was very much like his father, refined and elegant. Paul valued freedom, stood out, and picked up his mom upon arriving at the party. Norman arrived at the train station and met Jess's family, all meeting him for the first time, yet having heard of Paul. Their common goal was to meet Jess's brother, the pride of the family. His name's Neil. Stepping off the train, he strutted like a tennis champ, probably feeling incredibly cool. Neil studied in California, becoming the family's pride. When dining home, Norman carried the bags. Neil returned home, boasting. The family hoped Norman would take him fishing, and they set Friday morning. Norman found Paul asked him to fish together, disliking Neil. Seeing his brother in a bind, Paul reluctantly agreed. On Friday morning, Neil was late as usual, completely wasted, and brought a shady-looking girl along. Fishing brother looked displeased, but they could barely walk. After a recovery, Neil held a can of worms. Paul was furious, thinking using worms to fish in Blackfoot River was a total disrespect to the fish. The brother went to find them, and the younger focused on fishing. Soon, the brother fell asleep, and knowingly he even caught a fish. Paul fumed at the sight. The brothers found empty bottles, angering Paul more. It was basically polluting their home, and then they spotted Neil and the woman, both completely out of it. They looked like they thought they were at the beach, getting sunburned to a crisp. Norman had to haul Neil back home. He was a lost cause at that point. But that's nothing. What matters is Jessie was angry at Neil's state and drove towards the construction site. Jessie took an unconventional route, driving onto tracks into a dark tunnel where a train might rush through any time. After bursting out of the tunnel, they found themselves on a high bridge, where Jessie finally smiled, feeling like she had avenged her brother. When dusk fell, they arrived at Norman's house. Jessie said bluntly, "You don't like my brother, do you?" "No, I can't stand you, brother. No doubt about it," Norman replied honestly. "I don't understand his card tricks, but they're like you, though I don't want to see you again," Jessie said, with a faint smile.